Do you want to know the pros and cons of living in Norfolk, Virginia? Well, I'm telling you right now. Well, hello, my name is Sam Santalone and I'm a real estate agent from Hampton Roads, Virginia. And if it's your first time here, welcome. Subscribe button's right there, hit that, hit the bell next to it, and that'll tell you every time I do a video, which is every Wednesday, about Hampton Roads or about real estate. So let's get into the pros and cons of Norfolk, Virginia. I did a video about the pros and cons of living in Virginia Beach, Virginia, which I'll put up here. So I thought it might be good if I did some Norfolk pros and cons as well. Just like the other video, I'll do 5 cons and I'll also do 5 pros. I'm gonna give you a great restaurant that I love at the very end of the video. And this time I'm gonna also add a restaurant that I love right after the cons section in the middle. Norfolk is a very unique city. You can almost divide it into 2 separate sides of town. You've got the east and north side of town, and you've also got the west and kind of southern side of town. The east and north side has a totally different feel than the other side. The east and north has a lot more residential areas, a lot less shopping, and there's just not as much to do there if you're moving to that part of town. But if you drive 15-20 minutes across to the other side of town, the west side, the whole dynamic changes. Very popular area, very trendy, lots of restaurants, nightlife. All that action is on that side of town. So you have 2 completely different experiences when you talk about Norfolk. Con number 1. Well, it's flooding. Virginia Beach has a flooding issue in some areas, and the same applies to Norfolk. If you're looking at the map of Norfolk, the west part of Norfolk in what's called Ghent, and near that Ghent area is very prone to flooding. There are some low-lying areas in there. Not every spot is rough. This also applies in other areas of Norfolk on the northern side near the beach and what's called Ocean View, and some areas also as well on the east side and south side. FEMA also even changed the flood maps in 2017 to enlarge the areas of Norfolk that require higher risk flood insurance policies. Some of the property values in Norfolk have become a little bit suppressed because the people that want to buy in these areas now have to spend more money in flood insurance, which means that they can't afford as much for the mortgage. If you are moving to or live in an area that is prone to flooding, just make sure as much as you can that your car, if you have one, is parked in a higher elevation area as much as possible. Number 2, some schools are lower rated in Norfolk. Niche.com, again, a great website for knowing more about school systems, rated a couple of Norfolk schools in the bottom 10% of statewide high schools. Not all high schools are rated low. There's a private school in Norfolk that's in the top 5 in the state. When you're moving into the area or relocating, just pay attention to the school districts so you can make some decisions about if that area is best for you. The number 3 is another common one, is traffic. And I'll show you a map right now to explain that there are certain spots in Norfolk that have worse traffic than others. We have a couple interstate systems here, Interstate 264 and Interstate 64. Those are the primary interstates that run through Norfolk. And certain areas of those interstates often back up quite a bit. And so rush hour times in the morning and in the evening. Some people end up tripling their commute time depending on what time during the morning they leave to go to work. So again, if you're planning on moving or relocating in those areas, know which routes make the most sense for you and where you're going. Now, number 4 is interesting. The shopping accessibility in Norfolk is not always easy. A lot of the stores that you might be used to or want to go to, like grocery stores like Harris Teeter, Kroger, Costco, BJ's, those kind of places, A, they're less prevalent, and B, they're not all centrally located. As you can see even on the map here, you can tell the difference between where the locations are of shopping areas in Norfolk compared to Virginia Beach or Chesapeake. So if you live in the north part of Norfolk and you want to go to a specific grocery store, it's not as easy to find that grocery store close to where you live. But if you go on the other side of town, there are some grocery stores, but you also have MacArthur Mall, a shopping mall, and you have the downtown area. So there's a lot more shopping on that side of town. But if you're on the east and north, you have a little bit more driving to do. But you get IKEA, which is coming in April of 2019, as well as some factory outlets. Number 5 is crime. Now, crime is not all high in Norfolk, but there are some parts, just like most cities, but there are some parts in Norfolk that have a lot higher crime than others. So right now on the screen, I'm showing you, Trulia has a map that helps with crime statistics and gives you some color-coded indicators as to the levels of crime in each area. So just know that there are some very specific areas in Norfolk that have higher crime than others. But then there are some, even just down the road, that are really, really low. So it doesn't mean that the entire city is that way, but there are some spots that you have to be aware of. And you know what? I probably missed some cons. Tell me some cons in the comments below that you don't like about Norfolk, and I'd love to hear from you, and maybe you can help some people that are moving here get some better context about the city too. So my first favorite restaurant on this video is Mr. Shawarma, and the address is down below. Oh my gosh. They're a Mediterranean restaurant that serves mainly street food. It's kind of like a Chipotle style where you go up and you pick the ingredients you want, but they load up the pitas and they're massive. They're the same as So I'll give you the 5 pros right now. Number 1, the nightlife. The downtown area is full of stuff. You've got Waterside, which is a nice rebuilt center with restaurants and a park next to it called Town Point Park. It's a lot of venues, Scope, Chrysler Hall, lots of theaters, the Harrison Opera House. The Arts District in Norfolk is very, very vibrant. You also have concert halls like the Norfolk, which is an awesome place to go see a concert. You've got the MacArthur Center Mall. Granby Street is a main street that if you had never been to Norfolk and you want to go to downtown and experience some nightlife, Granby Street's a good spot to start, and then you head back down towards the water. But if you go further west, you get Ghent. Ghent is loaded with restaurants, man. Ethnic food, American food, high-class bistro. There's also a theater there called the Narrow, an old theater that's been reconditioned and now shows first-run movies and a lot of independent films that you won't find often in other theaters. It's a trendy spot. I lived there for a little while, and there are several streets where it's lined with restaurants and lined with things to do. Or you can just go for a stroll. The residential areas of Ghent as well. That's where the Mr. Shawarma location is, and that's where the other restaurant that I'm going to tell you about later is located. And I love it there. Now, number 3 are the military bases. The largest employer of this area. We have the largest Navy base in America. It's been researched that about 90,000 civilians or enlisted service people work at the Little Creek or the Norfolk Navy bases. So if you are in the military, there's a chance you might get stationed here at some point. This area is very, very saturated with military personnel, and it's a very military-friendly area. So number 4 is sports. So Virginia Beach is a little bit lacking in sports. Norfolk has more of a sports scene. We've got a minor league baseball team, the AAA Norfolk Tides, which is the lower division farm club of the Baltimore Orioles in the major leagues. We also have the Norfolk Admirals, which is a minor league hockey team. We also have Old Dominion. Of all the colleges in Norfolk, that's the primary focus for sports, whether it's basketball, but mainly football. Old Dominion football is now a hot ticket in the area because it's the one spot where you can get the best football experience while still living in Norfolk. And I'm a really big sports fan, so I've always wanted a professional team to come to Norfolk. We don't have that, but what we have now is great. I can attest to you that you get a lot of great stuff here in regards to sports. And number 5 is the history. Now, if you move to Hampton Roads or you're visiting here, you can't help but bump into something historical. As like I said in Virginia Beach, Norfolk also has a deep history rooted in America. This city was actually founded in 1636. It became an actual city in 1736. But in the American Revolution, in 1776, the British burned Norfolk, but then it soon became rebuilt after that. There's actually a spot in Norfolk that's very rarely publicized, and a lot of locals don't know about this, which is Fort Norfolk on the bottom, the southwestern side of Norfolk. This was a fort that one of 19 total that George Washington commissioned to have built in the late 1700s to protect the maritime spots in America. And this was the last one that survived in the War of 1812. So it's still there, and you can tour it for free. One cool historical thing that Norfolk did in the 90s is install what's called the Elizabeth River Trail. It's a 10.5-mile stretch that spans almost the entire south, west, and north borders of Norfolk. And there's a map that I'll attach a link to below that shows you the entire path and all the spots to pay attention to on the path. And at the end of this video, I'm still going to tell you about the restaurant that I love, but I just want to tell you thank you so much for watching this video. It really means a lot to me, and if you get any value out of my videos, I'd love for you to hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it and be notified whenever I do videos about real estate in Hampton Roads and about the awesome things we do here. Now, the other place I want to tell you about that you need to go to is called the Birch. RateBeer.com actually rated the Birch as the #2 best beer bar in the United States and #10 in the world. I'm not kidding. If you love beer, you cannot miss going to the Birch. Talk about incredible atmosphere, real intimate setting. You can order food there as well, but the main attraction is the beer. They have a huge chalkboard that on that board they'll write all the beer that they have listed. It's real unique beer that you probably have never had before. I'll put the address down below. It's in an area called Chelsea, which is near the heart of Ghent on the southwestern part of the city. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.